จ้าจ้าโอเคจ้าจ้าจ้าจ้าได้โอเคจ้าจ้าจ้าจ้าเลยครับ Okay, we are going to pay respect to the Triple Gem now. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagavata Buddhang Bhagavata Abhivadena Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namacchami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅgho Saṅghang Namāmi Andamayang Puttassa Bhagavato Puppapa Namakarang Karomase Namo
Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa
Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Today, on behalf of the Council of the Thai Bhikkhu, we are honored to have the Ajahn Pasanno here. This is the second time for Tan Ajahn. In 1998, I remember it's the first time I visiting the Apaikiri. After we meeting at the Wat Puttanuson, and we are Luang Pho Panya is the leader coming, and another 9 monk come together with the big van, and we directly to the Wat Apaikiri. And at that time we don't have the navigator, and we did not know how far to Apaikiri. And it's a lunch time, and Luang Pho Panya said that, okay, we can have lunch here. And we have lunch in front of the temple, in front of the Apaikiri. And we had all the monks sitting and have lunch together. The sidewalk, because we don't know how far they Wat Apaikiri. And that's the first time when they coming to Apaikiri, and first time I coming to the Washington to start to the Atamayata Rama Buddhist Monastery. It's the first time. And Luang Pho Panya is when they traveling around in England, he said the monk, they're working, they're doing very well for the spread the Dhamma, and he's good support. When they coming here to America, okay, he love to go to Apaikiri too. And Ajahn Sumedho, the first time Ajahn Sumedho come and to Wat Adam, and Ajahn Sumedho said that now the Luang Pho Panya already passed away. When they come to to Seattle, and he said he had to come to Wat Atam, and very nice. We working very nice. Very few days ago, I got about 10 box of the book in English. Yeah, that's from a Paikiri from Thailand. Usually they print in Thailand and sent to a Paikiri, and they sent to Wat Atam. Right now, the book center, and I said that the book center is in Wat Atam is the center for the book for the council of the Bhikhuss in U.S. too. I have to pack and send every week, send around. Everyone interesting about the Dhamma book, I will send to them. And today, we are invite the Ajahn Pasanno to come and give a talk, a meditation to movement for movement to movement. A very, very good topic. And today is the last Saturday for this session, because of it already complete for 4 months. And we're going to have another program again next month. Okay, the time. Everyone, please welcome Ajahn Pasanno.
Okay, greetings everybody. Both I ask permission to speak to all of the many monastics have joined and lay people. So I am delighted to see so much interest. I'll begin by just doing the traditional Namo Tassa, paying respects and homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, just because it's that is the appropriate way of beginning a Dhamma talk. That sense of recollecting the things that we take as refuge and that we see are true jewels, true gems in our life. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. So today's topic that was requested was meditation from moment to moment, and it's like a request to how to meditate during the day while performing activities in our daily life, eyes open, engaging with the world. And I think that's a very appropriate topic to explore. Because sometimes there is a lot of confusion in terms of meditation, and as if it's some kind of very formal activity that is quite separate from our daily life, and certainly in the Buddha's time, in the Buddha's teachings. The emphasis that the Buddha gave was much more on this sense of learning how to develop clarity and understanding in whatever we're doing, So I think that's probably good to reflect on what we assume to be meditation at the very beginning, and again, there's this the assumption of meditation being a particular technique, mindfulness of breathing, recitation of Bhikhuss, 32 parts of the body, loving kindness meditation, vipassana meditation, reflections on impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self, and those are all certainly tools that we use and rely on, but they're just tools that are part of our toolkit, and the meditation, or the word that the Buddha used more often is the word bhavana, and that is, in terms of meditation, that's more around like a mental cultivation, a mental developing of skillful and wholesome qualities, of which, say, mindfulness and inner peace are part of that. So that taking it, looking at it a bit broader and in a bigger perspective, approaching what we call meditation as more around cultivation, development, developing those qualities that help awareness and attention to be more sustained and sustainable, because people, even when, because one of the in terms of the Eightfold Path, the meditation section of the Eightfold Path is right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. And because oftentimes samadhi is translated as concentration, and that is that's a bit narrow, a bit tight. When you think about, I've got to concentrate my mind, usually you get tense and stressed already. But samadhi is much more around a sense of a firm settling of the mind, a settledness of heart, a well-established quality within the mind, within the heart. And so that necessarily is actually, say, moment to moment. And that meditation is also those aspects of right effort, right mindfulness, and right establishing of the mind. Those are working together all the time. Say, when the Buddha speaks of the different meditation postures, then it's sitting, walking, standing, and lying down. And that covers just about everything that we're possibly going to do through the day and through the night. So there's a an emphasis on that continuity and clarity of awareness and mindfulness that is important. There's also the aspect of what kind of effort do we put in? Because when the Buddha, especially when we refer back to the Eightfold Path, then that right effort is always defined in terms of the quality of the mind itself, the effort to prevent unwholesome qualities from arising, the effort to prevent or to relinquish unwholesome mental states or qualities that have arisen, the effort to bring into being wholesome qualities, skillful qualities of mind, states of mind, and the effort to maintain in being the wholesome qualities, wholesome mental states that have already arisen. So, in terms of meditation, you're talking about the quality of our mind, quality of the heart. That's the kind of, and in terms of effort, it's not, because, you know, you can put a tremendous amount of effort into doing something, and particularly with meditation, and many people do, they put tremendous effort into meditation, and they end up with headaches and kind of tension and a knot in their stomach of anxiety, wondering whether they're doing it right or not. And it's all this effort that is not really paying attention to the quality of mind. Is the mind wholesome? Is it bright? Is it skillful? Is it conducive to well-being and happiness? I mean, it's so important to establish this sense of well-being, because it's just that sense of learning how it's just learning how to live with yourself. There's so many, in terms of meditation practice and say meditation moment to moment in daily life, a lot of it is sometimes say a recollection of, well, how do we live with others? How do we do our duties? But in reality, we only have to live with others part of the time. We have to live with ourselves all of the time. So good to learn how to live with ourselves, learn how to be kind of happy, content, how to have a sense of appreciation of our life, and that require, again, coming back to the whole of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, which encompasses, say, the Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So there is a training that we're doing that's based on beginning with, or rooted in, grounded in sila, in our precepts. But sila is it's much broader. I mean, I think the sense of virtue and integrity in the English language is probably a good word to use if we think in terms of sila, because it's a sila is a foundation in that which is wholesome, that is well established in a harmlessness, and a not taking advantage of or being sensitive to other people and how we live in the world. Because if we act on thoughts of harming or thoughts of taking advantage of or of deceiving other people, then those are not, they're not beautiful mental states. They're not beautiful qualities of mind, and they affect us. It's hard to feel happy with ourselves if we've been cruel or dishonest with others, and in reality, it's something that it affects us before it affects others. I mean, others are obviously affected by our unskillfulness, but it's also we're affected by it. We don't get away with anything. That's the nature of karma, is that whatever action there is a result, and we know it and we experience it. I remember the very first time that I came back to the West, to North America, to Canada, to visit my family. I'd been away for about almost going on 17 years. And so I hadn't seen most of my relatives, and they were all wanted to see me. I remember one time being in Victoria and with a group of my aunts and uncles and cousins, and my parents were there, and so it was a nice gathering. And my uncle asked me if I said, you've been away from Canada for a long time. Can I get you something to drink? So you probably haven't had any Canadian Club for a long time. I got a really good bottle of Canadian Club, and which is it's whiskey, and I said, oh well, as a Buddhist monk, I'm not allowed to take alcohol. And he said, well, you're here by yourself. Nobody will know. And I said, well, I'll know. I don't keep my precepts because of somebody else. I keep my precepts because they're a benefit to me. They affect me first, and I'm the one who knows whether I'm doing it well. So that creating of an integrity for oneself is a source of happiness. And this is something that the Buddha points out, that the results of keeping a level of virtue and keeping sila is that it brings about happiness in the present moment, this lifetime, and it brings about happiness in the future. So that's a very direct benefit. And when we're aware of ourselves, then that sense of awareness, that is meditation. Am I keeping my I've got boundaries that I set for myself, that I take on because I want to be a Buddhist practitioner. And nobody's going around and checking on you. I mean, people, everybody as a Buddhist, and I think that's one of the things that is really noble about Buddhism, is that it's we've got this opportunity to cultivate, to develop, to learn, to practice, to train ourselves because we want to do the training. We want to understand. We want to experience the fruits of the Buddha's teachings and his path, and that is something that is of our it's of our benefit, and we experience the fruits of that. So that recollecting the place that the keeping of precepts and keeping of a sense of integrity and virtue in our life, which then starts to also include qualities of generosity, of kindness, of being willing to help others. I mean, it's not a precept, but it's a result of the precepts, or it's an integral to our actions, actions of speech, actions of body. I mean, that is what, say, sila is concerned with, and so that paying attention to those aspects of our actions, activities that lead to our well-being and happiness, and lead to the well-being and happiness of others. So that's a training that we take on. We pick it up and we learn from it. And this is another aspect of the Buddhist teachings, is that it's a path of learning. It's a path of education. It's a path of training. We are engaging ourselves in training in order to decrease the sense of discontent and dissatisfaction, dis-ease in our life, which we all don't want, and to cultivate that which leads to increased contentment, increased satisfaction, increased ease and well-being. So it's a very concrete goal that the Buddha points to us, and of course it's reflecting on, well, what is dukkha in terms of suffering? That sense of things not being satisfactory, not being satisfying. And of course, we tend to, because we want to be, I mean, it's just a human impulse to want to be satisfied. We want to be happy. And we tend to follow our desires in order to experience happiness. So there's a because that's the nature of desire, especially, say, sense desire, sensual desire, even desire in terms of our sense of self-image, or our sense of our sense of ourself, who we are. And that's where the Buddha points to these different aspects of desire as a source of suffering. Kama tanha, the desire for the sensory and sensual stimulation. Bhava tanha, desire for being, becoming. That's wanting to be something, trying to become in terms of get more praise, get more acknowledgement, get more recognition, have more sense of say a status, or people look on me more favorably. Those are, I mean, it's a natural desire, but it's also when we're driven by that, there's always going to be a sense of, did we worry, doubt, did we do it? And there's always going to be its opposite, because praise and blame are just a natural part of the Buddha said these are worldly, in the 8 worldly dhammas, praise and blame, gain and loss, status and loss of status, disrepute, happiness and suffering. These are the ordinary worldly whims, and we chase after one, and we are averse to, we're upset by, or we fear the other, and that. But you can't really live a life where all you get is the positive elements. Even the Buddha was criticized, and even the Arahants were slandered. I mean, it's an ordinary aspect, but they didn't have to suffer over it. And so that sense of being able to pay attention to these different impulses and desires, desire for non-become, vibhava tanha, that pushing away of the things that we don't want, shouldn't be this way, the world shouldn't be like this, America shouldn't be like this, Thailand shouldn't be like this. I mean, those are the vibhava tanha. I shouldn't be like this. Or trying to, because even we're just contemplating what kind of desires, when we say meditate from moment to moment, what kind of desire is that conditioned by? It's really important to reflect on that. Because if we're not paying attention to what's motivating, what's conditioning it, what assumptions are we making due to the desire in the background, then we'll keep looking for some kind of affirmation. Did I get it right? What did the book say? What did that so-and-so Ajahn say? What did that Ajahn say? And then we spend our time comparing and being in doubt, and then not having any inner refuge. So that too, in terms of meditation from moment to moment, the first thing is looking after oneself, establishing oneself in virtue and integrity, having a blameless foundation for one's actions, in terms of application of mind, directing attention, learning to understand how we're conditioned by our different desires, and It's just ordinary because you can, and that was another vibhava aspect of vibhava tanha. I've got to get rid of all my desires, and in order for me to be a proper meditator who meditates properly from moment to moment, I can't have any desires. Well, all that leads to is a sense of frustration and tension again, more dukkha, more suffering. So it's a learning how to investigate and bring awareness, because it's like there's a happiness that does come from the happiness that comes from having our desires fulfilled is a certain kind of happiness. It's quite limited. It's usually agitating. Not so peaceful, but as a Buddhist practitioner, you start thinking, well, there's also a happiness that comes from not having to fulfill our desires, not having to act on our desires, seeing them clearly, because also there's a big difference between, and in the English language, it's a bit of a problem in the sense that the word, there's not that many words for desire, so it might be good to delineate in the sense that what the Buddha used is the word tanha. And that is the desire that is always associated with greed, hatred, and delusion, always results in suffering. But there's also desire or wanting that it's more neutral in the scriptural language. The word is chanda, so on its own it can be it's neutral and positive in a sense. It can also have a negative connotation in terms of the 5 hindrances in meditation, the kama chanda, that's sensual desire, sense desire, and so that has a negative, agitating result. But you think in terms of the 4 bases of spiritual success. The first one is chanda, chanda virya citta vimamsa. In the Pali, the Iddhipada, and that chanda is the very first one. That is there needs to be a desire, and that's maybe better translated as motivation. We need to have a wholesome motivation in order to do something. The chanda virya, effort. Citta, establishing the mind in a stable way, vimamsa, investigation, reviewing, reflection. So those are a set of teachings that the Buddha gave that are part of the wings to awakening, bodhipakkhya, so kind of aspects of awakening. And there's also, chanda is used in terms of, Dhamma chanda, desire for the Dhamma. Kusala chanda, desire for the wholesome, for the good. So those are very, that's a positive application of desire. So that being able to pay attention, and that's part of meditation moment to moment, is what's my motivation right now? What is my what is my mind doing? Because I mean, we are so good at justifying our defilements and our attachments. We've got the inner lawyer has a case made pretty quickly, and so you have to be really careful. And that's what, say, like in terms of, say, meditation, moment to moment, you're thinking, or this sense of this mindfulness and awareness and reflective investigation. One of the words that say, when I first was living in Thailand, first living with Ajahn Chah, first learning the Thai language and hearing the teachings and hearing both Ajahn Chah and other teachers and the other monks were talking about practice and meditation. And one of the words that would come up over and over again is satipanya, and that mindfulness and wisdom, and that that's a really beautiful combination that we have to keep reminding ourselves to apply, to cultivate. One of the monks in our lineage tradition, he translated it as truth discerning awareness, which I thought was very beautiful. So that application of a truth discerning awareness, an application of satipanya to our moods, our mental states, our impulses, and coming back, and that sense of moment to moment is really where the heart of the practice is. Because when I saw the Ajahn Litti's email telling me the topic for the talk today, then I said, a meditation moment to moment. And I think, well, actually there isn't any other time than moment to moment. And there isn't anything else we should be doing is meditating moment to moment, and not because the aspect of time is what we ourselves say we get lost in. We get lost in the kind of worries about the future. We get lost in the kind of projections out into the future of what may or may not happen, what may or may not be. We get lost in the past. We carry around the past, and we either relive our old past glories, or we sink ourselves in our regrets and remorse from the past, and we rehash it, revisit it, and we forget to be present moment to moment. And it's so important to keep reminding ourselves that. And Luang Por years ago when he was living in England, living at Amaravati, and he was doing a lot of teaching, and he, for quite a few years, he would, every time he would give a reflection and a Dhamma talk, he'd begin by saying, the past has already gone, the future is yet to come, now is the knowing. And so that in that sense, we've got this quality of knowing right now. Isn't like I'm going to be mindful and I'll meditate in the future when all the conditions are perfect. Then I'll be able to meditate moment to moment sometime in the future. That's just a projection. It's just a hope. It's a proliferation. Thinking about the past of my meditations in the past, where it was so successful, and now what's happened to it? Or the past when it was such a failure and it just seemed so hopeless. And it's just the past. It's already gone. Now is the knowing. There is this moment-to-moment opportunity for establishing awareness and presence and clarity. So that opportunity is always with us. That opportunity is always here. It's just the nature of the mind, is that it is aware. That's the basic function of having a mind, is that it knows. It knows the objects of the senses, of the sight, sound, smells, taste, touch. It knows the objects of the mind. It knows the moods. It knows its likes, its dislikes. I mean, it does get confused, but it knows, and we have to keep returning to that knowing, and that's where we establish a moment-to-moment clarity that allows us to be well established in integrity, well established in a sense of equanimity and well-being, so it's like unshakability. So that's a quality that we can be returning to and rely in and dwell in. The access is through that moment-to-moment awareness. So those are some reflections on meditation, moment-to-moment, and I'll open it up for questions.
Yeah. Good evening, good morning, everyone. We have a question here, Ajahn Pasanno, about, do you feel you have grown more joyful and light-hearted as a result of your Dhamma practice and mindfulness development?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, as a question, it's a very simple answer. Yeah. The more joyful, a lot more happiness and well-being, a lot more ease, a lot more sense of not really being shaken by much. So it's a general sense of ease that is there.
forgot to unmute Ajahn. Thank you. A question from Casey. She wanted to know, because our mind is always pretty active, and we, as you say, sometimes we do clinging to the things that has been past. So she's curious about what suggestions you have for us if we are caught in this clinging moment of the old stories or the old record in a certain moment. How do we skillfully bring ourselves back to the present moment?
Well, I think one of the things is to recognize that you're already in the present moment. I mean, we drag ourselves out of the present moment. It isn't that we have to bring ourselves back to the present moment. As soon as you establish awareness, you are in the present moment. It's always there. As one of the, I remember Ajahn Chah pointing that out, and it was a real illumination for me. He said, most people talk about when they meditate, what they do is they put their mind on the breath, and they put their mind on their meditation object, and then the mind wanders off, so then they pull the mind back to the meditation object, and he said, and that's what most people spend their time doing, is just pushing and pulling the mind back and forth, and forget to notice that as soon as you're aware, you're in the present moment. That is the present moment. As soon as you are with the knowing, as soon as you're there, and you don't have to go anywhere for that. You don't have to, your mind hasn't gone anywhere. Thoughts have gone, the mind is there. The quality of the mind of awareness is always there. The thoughts might go off somewhere, and you don't have to run after them. It's just coming back to that being in the present moment, returning to the present moment, reestablishing that connection with the present moment. Then you're there. So then there's not that, we tire ourselves out, sort of running after a mind to bring it back, and running after a mind to bring it back. And you end up at the end of a meditation with you feel like you've run a marathon. I mean, it's that sense. Oh, as soon as you return to, it's like taking a refuge in the knowing, in this quality of awareness, of being with that Buddha, taking the Buddha as refuge, allowing the Buddha to be our refuge. There's the Buddha, when they do the translation in Thai, so the one who knows, the one who's awake, the one who's bright. So that refuge is in the heart all the time. It's in this quality of knowing. It's a shift of how we view and look at the mind. The mind is always here. It's always now. And it's those constructs of mind, the thoughts and the proliferations that go all over the place. The mind is always here. Allow oneself to delight in being with one's own mind.
Thank you, Ajahn. Just a follow-up question about from Alice. She mentioned that meditation is built upon our focus and going with the flow. She found it difficult to let go of her senses because of the external environment or conditions of different desires. What is Ajah's advice on how do we let go of those unpleasant things or unpleasant moments that we face?
One is usually, it's good to pay attention to the desire behind that, in the sense of, I want to let go of the unpleasant because I don't like it, and what I want is the pleasant, and so I want that. So then the mind is already shaken by this kind of desire system, that is pushing away, don't like it, it's unpleasant, shouldn't. But it's like the world is the world. It's like if one is in the world, one has senses. The ear hears sounds, and the eyes see sights, and our senses contact the world around. And as long as we're in the world, there's going to be pleasant and unpleasant objects of the senses. But it's with the nature of different objects are intrinsically pleasing or displeasing. I mean, it's by their very nature. I mean, say this, like today here at the monastery, there's quite a breeze blowing. So the sound of the breeze blowing in the trees is very, it's very pleasing. If one were in the city, in traffic, the sound of cars and maybe horns and whatnot, or if there's some construction going on, it's not so pleasing. But those are objects, and they, sometimes we have to be with that. And sometimes we can't control the environment. But what we can do is we can be with this quality of knowing, so that the awareness of unpleasant sound, the awareness is not unpleasant. The sound might be unpleasant, but the awareness of that, the knowing of that, is not unpleasant. I mean, it's actually there's a sense of steadiness or stillness there. It's an internal mood, the mood of say anxiety, and these are times where there is there's good justification for anxiety. I mean, there's lots of things that are worthy of being anxious, but we can know that, but the awareness that knows anxiety is not anxious, and the awareness that knows a loud sound, it's not agitated. The awareness, so that it's like learning how to pay attention to that recognition of that quality of awareness, knowing, and the objects of senses, and that desire to try to control or just to really articulate what the mind is actually saying. Is like, one is in the world, one experiences something that is unpleasant, the sight of something, or the hearing it, or the situation, and if the world would only conform to what I want it to be, then I would be happy and peaceful and be able to meditate. I mean, that's pretty hopeless. It's not going to happen. But we can be aware of those reactions. We can be aware of the knowing. We can be aware of that. And increasingly we start to see oh, that is our refuge. That is a place of abiding that is really worthy to dwell.
Thank you, Ajahn. Follow-up questions about trying to find the right balance. So as a lay people, just like Chris, we all like to worry about the future. Even though as much as possible, we want to stay in the moment, but we do worry about the future, our jobs, or everything. How do we find the right balance between staying in the moment and at the same time planning for the future?
Suffering. You pay attention to the how much suffering are you willing to invest? And just go ahead, keep suffering until you're willing to drop it or see that it's. I don't need to suffer so much over this. It's not. I'm opting into this suffering. It really, that, of course, that's bringing it back to these Four Noble Truths, the core teaching of the Buddhas, and you start really starting to understand. Oh, this is dukkha. This is the cause of dukkha. This is the ending. This is the cessation of dukkha. This is the path leading to cessation of dukkha. So that dukkha is that suffering or that sense of discontent, dis-ease, is a really, when you pay attention to it, it is your best teacher and your best motivator, because you've got something quite concrete rather than some kind of theoretical balance that you think you should be doing that you've heard about from somebody else. I mean, it's not a great basis to build a practice on. But coming back, okay, this is dukkha, this is suffering. How am I going to work with this? Where is this coming? You've got something to pay attention to and to train with and to relinquish and develop.
Thank you, Ajahn. One last question about meditation. So as we know, our mind is always, wandering around. So this question is, how much should we allow our mind to wander when we meditate? And if we wander, is that a meditation?
Well, one is this sense of awareness. I mean, you can't, if you spend your time trying to force the mind not to move, not to think, not to feel, you're just going to tie yourself in knots. It's going to be so unpleasant. So you establish an awareness and mindfulness and an interest. It's like really taking an interest in what's happening, because also it isn't a problem that the mind thinks or conceives. It is when it's unskillful. It is when it's not understood. But when it moves, can we keep investigating it and taking an interest in how to guide it so that it helps to bring up or lift the qualities of mind that help the mind to be more bright, or more clear, more still, more steady, and then that's what the aspect of practice or training is, just gaining more skill in how to work with them, how to channel the mind, how to direct the mind in ways that are advantageous to say that deep wish for peace and understanding of truth.
Thank Thank you, Ajahn. So I really appreciate this moment for your time and sharing with us this special topic. And it's so interesting that you mentioned that you remind us that even though we live with others part of the time, but we actually live with ourselves all the time. So that's a very good reminder that we always forget ourselves, that we are with someone. We are always with someone, and that is ourselves. So thank you for your reminder, Ajahn. I'll hand it back to Ajahn Riddhi for closing remarks.
Thank you very much.
Oh, do you mind? I think there's one more.
I saw that somebody have another question.
I think there's one more question. What if the suffering is part of an individual's responsibility, like voting for politicians? How can we stay away from anger?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is how much. Again, coming back to suffering, how much are we willing to suffer over somebody else's stupidity or views and opinions or unskillfulness? I mean, it doesn't mean we don't do anything, but how do we do it? How do we engage with the world around us, with our families, with ourselves, in a way that we're not just falling into habits of discontent, dis-ease, and creating suffering for ourselves. And as long as we keep ourselves suffering, we're always sharing it with others. I mean, it's that it's constantly doing it. So who's gonna stop? You're gonna wait for somebody else to stop suffering so you can stop suffering? No, you gotta pay attention. How do I stop? And how do I draw close to others who value that? And that's important, that sense of kalyanamitta, drawing close to others who are making an attempt to decrease suffering in the world. And that's not just, that's why I say, like, meditation, moment to moment. It's everything that we do. It's everything that we engage in. It's everything that all the people and society that we have a relationship with.
Okay, thank you, Ajahn. So back to you, Ajahn Riddhi.
Okay, anybody have any question you want to direct to talk to Ajahn Pasanno? Okay.
I think my summary is suffering is a choice. It's your choice. What do you want to choose? So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we, today is the last day of this session. Before I like to invite the most venerable Te Puttivite, the president of the Council of the Thai Bhikhuss, and he already joined every Saturday. And I would like to thank him for the board member of the council. And thank you, Joe. Yeah, Joe is the board member of the Wat Atam, and thank you, VK, the book reader in the Wat Atam, and Rob. He come and help, and Sarah. Sarah is the one who helping a lot for the book. And Casey also, she helping many things, and she come and talk. And Kong now in Malaysia, in Singapore now. Kong analyst in Singapore, and the one of our Sangha, he work very hard. It's Bunyakorn. He work very hard, and right now Ajahn Pasanno give a talk today, and we already the people around the world can see if they join the Facebook. Even the Facebook they can see around, and then we going to upload to the YouTube. It's very nice for the Dhamma Talk today, and then and before we going to closing this, I would like to announce for another program again. They're going to one they call the Dhamma English speaking. And maybe we point to the Dhamma Duta or the monk, the Sangha. And they're going to start October 3rd. And another is together, they call the speaking and pronunciation for the Dhamma Duta too. They start from the Friday, October 9. They start and together until December 25, December 26. Okay, this is another program for our Council of the Thai Bhikkhu. And before, and I would like to invite our secretary to say something before I invite Luang Por to pay respect to the Triple Gem and close. Okay.
Okay, Namaskar, Ajahn Pasanno, the great speaker today, and also the committee members of the Council of the Thai Bhikkhus in U.S.A, especially our president, most venerable Luang Por Phra Thep Puttivittet. So he present in every session, in every Saturday evening, and also for the participants around the world from the eastern country, such as in Thailand and Singapore, Malaysia, and also in Europe, also the Council of the Thai Bhikkhus in Europe and Singapore. So this is a program for the listening to the Dhamma, and we have learned a lot about the Dhamma, especially today. Last session, at least, did you get the answer today? At least from Singapore, Ajahn. She asked, I can translate in Thai, I can speak in Thai better, that she said, ถ้าโกรธอยู่ทำยังไงถึงจะสมาธิได้ While we are angry, how can we meditate? So today you got a good answer, the right answer from Ajahn, right?
Yes.
So back to moment, back to know yourself, and you will know that you are angry or not, or you peace, or you happy or suffering. So happiness and suffering is your choice. It's in your hands. So whatever you like to choose or you like to have in your mind, especially in the peace. So Ajahn Pasanno have talked 2 sessions, and very useful and beneficial for all practitioners and for all the people, monks and lay practitioners. So on behalf of the Thai Council, the Thai Bhikkhus, I deeply thanks Ajahn, and hope that we will have the opportunity to work together, and maybe sometime Ajahn Ritchie will invite Ajahn to lead the class next session, that we will have the Dhamma Talk, Dhamma discussion, and also learning English in Dhamma in the class. So thank you very much for today. Thank you, Ajahn. Okay, ครับ
หลวงพ่อครับหลวงพ่ออยู่ไหนครับหลวงพ่อ
เห็นผมหรือยัง
ครับผม
วันนี้มา
เห็นแล้วครับนิมนต์หลวงพ่อพูด
พูดอะไรหน่อยหลวงพ่อพูดอะไรหน่อยหลวงพ่อ
This program very good program, but today the last time of the program talking about the teaching of the Buddha, especially today talking about the Pasanno from Apaikiri Temple. They're very good and thank you for all the members to join about the listen or learning and study about the teaching of the Buddha. Because the teaching of the Buddha very hard to understand and very hard to practice. So we try to listen from many speakers and explain about something about the teaching of the Buddha. But especially today we have about the meditation from the Sanno people from the So we thank you for all the people to go today. Thank you very much.
Okay. ไหว้พระอะไรกันหลวงพ่อ
นะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอะภิวาเทสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนะมัสสามิโยปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนะมาวันนี้มาช้าหน่อยขอโทษด้วยเพราะ
ครับหลวงพ่อครับ
อย่าเรื่องกับคอมพิวเตอร์นิดหน่อยครับ
โอ้นั่นเลยครับหลวงพ่อไม่เป็นไรครับไม่เป็นไร
Thank you Ajahn Pasanno. Thank you very much for your